everybody. Welcome to the 30th edition of the Fireside Chats. Before we get started and we bring Patty on, I wanted to go over a couple of our amazing sponsors. Fireside Chat is brought to you by SBR Sports, sbrsportsinc.com. You can find Tri-Slide for chafing issues, Slide Stick for trail running, and yeah, they're just awesome. And yeah, don't forget to use our code RTB22 for 20% off when you go to sbrsportsinc.com. This is also brought to you by No Limits Endurance Coaching, because there ain't no party like a No Limits party. You can schedule a free consultation at nolimitendurance.com. So now what we're going to do here is trying to get our friend here on the show. There it is.
Hi.
Instagram can be really strange with that stuff. All right, there we go. Can you hear me, Patty?
Yeah. Hi, Willem. Hi, Antoinette.
How's it going?
Good. It's going really good.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for being on the Fireside Chat. As we said to everybody, it's the 30th edition of our Fireside Chat, and we're just super excited to have you on to just share your story. And yeah, thanks for being on the show.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you. So, I wanted to dive right into it. I wanted to ask you about your run journey. I saw that you ran track in high school, and then you jumped back into endurance sports, sort of.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was a sort of person too with that, who back at the track. But I saw that you got back into endurance sports about 10 years ago. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is.
So what sparked that?
I really have no idea why I started doing it again. In ninth grade, our middle school, which was junior high, because it wasn't part of our high school, only did a couple of sports, and one of which was track, and I liked it. I ran the 800, which tells you how old I am, because it was yards, and we had a dirt track, which kind of funny side story is that I ended up using that dirt track doing some of my training, my interval training for Ironman, and when I did my training to try qualify for Boston.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So 10 years ago, though, like I when I got to high school, I didn't do any of that. I played golf. I played college golf too. Basically the opposite of endurance sport stuff. But so I was playing golf, went through, just like adulthood. About 10 years ago, I did a couple bike rides. I really enjoyed it. Like I'm going to need to have something to shoot for, to train for, because I'm going to stop doing this if I don't. And so I had always wanted to do a triathlon. I'd seen the ABC Wide World of Sports. I saw the first Ironman that was televised. I think one of the first. It's lodged in my head. I know I saw it. I was like, that's crazy. And as my cycling teammates know, now when I say something's crazy, that means that I'm going to be doing it. So pretty true to form. Thought it was crazy to do. And I found a race and signed up for it. So my first triathlon was a fundraiser for USC and UCLA triathlon. I swam in the Pacific Ocean, with like big swells and everything. It was nuts. But I got hooked, and I just
And that was
started.
your first triathlon?
Yeah, it was just a sprint. It was a sprint triathlon, and it was fun. I mean, I ride a 56 bike, a size 56. I was riding a 61 for that. It was like not the right size at all, but I didn't want to like spend money. It was my son's bike, so I used it. I didn't want to spend money because I didn't know if I was going to like it. But I tell you, once I started doing the training for that triathlon, I signed up for another one halfway through. So in December, it was October that I did the first one. In December, I did my second one. It just started to like snowball. I started training with someone who I think might be on this, Corey Fitzgerald. We did some training for the LA Marathon, and I did my first marathon. After trying to do a half marathon, which it ended poorly. I pulled my calf. Yeah, Corey, you are here. Okay.
Corey says, heck yeah.
And so, having kind of done that, I just like I did a marathon between like July to March. I went to a full marathon, and then that September I did a half iron distance. Is that me? That's okay. Okay.
No, that was
I
me.
did a
You're
I did
talking
a
about your half Ironman. That's
yeah. So that was my first one that I did. I finally had a triathlon bike for it, and I just kept training, and I trained and did the LA Marathon again the next year. Knocked almost an hour off my time. Did another.
now, was it couch to? Is this half Ironman, the couch to Ironman that you did?
I mean, I did a full Ironman in 2014. So July 2012 to November 2014. But in the meantime, I did two more marathons. I did LA, and then I did Mountains to Beach, and qualified for Boston while I was training.
Wow.
While I was starting my training.
Yeah, she's definitely a beast, Corey. That is.
It's just wild. Like when you get this, I caught the bug, and it replaced a lot of fairly bad habits. I posted something on my Instagram story, 80 days. I actually quit drinking 80 days ago. I haven't really drank
Wow.
much in the last 10 years anyways, but I don't know why. I said, I think I could do this for 90 days. And so I quit drinking. But like I did quite a bit I was pretty good at it before I started training. But when you're training for Ironman or you're training for marathons, you don't have a lot of leeway to go and drink every night. So most of the nights, if I had a beer after training, it was almost to replace calories more than anything, because it was a constant battle just in my training months. So, and like I said, it just kept rolling and rolling until I ruptured a disc in my back in 2016, training for my third Ironman. It would have been Wisconsin.
Okay. So now it's 2016 and you ruptured your disc training for Ironman Wisconsin. Is this about the time that you started getting into trail running? Because I saw that you were going to run Trans Rockies in 2017. So tell me how you found out about trail running and how you eventually found out about Trans Rockies.
Well, I had done trail running before because where I lived in Southern California. Hi, Molly. And because I had some of that experience, I really enjoyed running on the trails. 2016 was a rough year. In January, that's when I had this little like thing go off in my head, and I couldn't put things back. Like I couldn't undo it, right? And so part of me was like, okay, let me get past this Ironman. And once I get past this Ironman, I can do trail running because, you know, I won't feel this, I won't have to train for swimming. And like, if this thing keeps going the way it's going, like I'm going to feel pretty uncomfortable swim training. So trail running just was a really good way for me to continue to do endurance sport. I loved running on the trails. It's totally different than road running. I mean, it's the same in some aspects, but it's also a lot. There's a lot of different things involved there, and so I just leaned into it. Plus, I could grow my hair out. I said, you know, like I'm growing my hair out because I'm a trail runner now.
Yeah, I saw the God Jurek hair description in the I Run Far article.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
amazing.
You really did do some digging, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was an amazing, like, it's just an awesome story. And you know, I just
Yeah.
wanted to, you know, it's funny that you bring up SoCal because, you know, I was born and raised SoCal and I still live in Southern California, and I'm a trail runner and an ultra runner, so I've probably been on and probably know all the trails that you ran on.
So I lived out in Redlands. I don't know if you know where that's at, but you know where I ran. There was a trail. Well, where I lived in Mentone actually. You know, 10 minutes away, I could hop in my car and go do a 10-mile loop. That was some pretty tough trail. It was like a good 2-hour run. A lot of uphill, a lot of crazy. Actually, I think it's really where I got my love for descending. Ask anybody who's run near me during Trans Rockies, and I just bombed the downhills. And I think it was the
So
single
much
track.
downhill.
I think it was the single track in Crafton Hills and Yucaipa that really helped me figure out how to run downhill. Mostly because I had to. So, you know, I bombed down those hills, and I ran up in Big Bear a little bit. I ran Holcomb Valley. I ran that. Actually, ran that this year. I was supposed to do the 50K, but I got hurt. So, you know, I've run up the San Gabriels and just basically along the foothills here. So it was, you know, it's a great place to run. It's a lot more difficult living in Chicago, where I've lived the last 5 years, to find trails. So, and especially this last year and a half, I've not had a car because you don't need one in Chicago. And so it's been a lot of me hitching rides. Thanks to all my training partners who have driven me to the trails. But I made sure when I had my car to take as many people as I could to stock up on the karma.
There you go. Oh, Molly said, Mammoth holds some of my favorite running memories with you.
So Molly is my daughter, and part of my trail running is because of her and because of running those trails in Mammoth with her high school team. I would go up there and kind of extend my training in August. And it was really fun to do too, where I would go up there and ride. I'd ride up to Mono Lake. I'd ride around June Lake. I'd ride out in some of the flats, and it was just some amazing space. I got to swim in a pool where you pop your head out of the pool and you can see these mountains and these plains, and it was just amazing place to be. And you know, to get to spend that with my daughter and see her really enjoying the running as well, get to run with her team and help out. It was pretty cool. I was in a different place at that point. You know, I hadn't made a realization as to who I was at that point. So, you know, I was a chaperone, and I've got a funny story that I'll tell. I was a chaperone, and one of the years everybody was introducing themselves. All the chaperones were introducing themselves, and so I was on the boys' side. I was chaperoning the males and staying in their room, but we were all together having dinner, and all the other chaperones, like almost all of them, were moms. And so when it got to me, everybody had introduced themselves as their kid's mom, and so I introduced myself as Molly's mom. Little did I know that I would later, probably a year or so later, like have that light bulb go off and realize that I was indeed Molly's mom. But like everybody made bandanas and mine said mom on it, which is kind of fun and really,
Isn't it amazing how
yeah,
your gut and like the universe and like things just like fall into place
yeah,
at the right moment to like give you those signals. And that actually leads into my question about like the transition. And I just wanted to, I guess you sort of answer my question with like how it, so this is about like 2016.
um,
What year is it?
she graduated. Wait, Molly, what year did you graduate? I think she graduated in 2016. Um, I'm really not a good parent there. I have 4 kids. It's hard to keep that all. 2016. Okay,
Understandable.
that's
There you
that's
go.
what I thought. That's what I thought it was. Um, and so this would, I think that year was, I want to say that was the first year, but I may be wrong. It may have been the second year that happened. I can't remember. Oh no, it was
So,
the first year. It was 2014. And so yeah, I hadn't even done my first Ironman by that time. And so I really had no. I mean, I knew. I just hit it really good for myself at that point. And so uh, it took me a while, and it took me until 2016. But it really took me until 2016, 2017, late 2017 before I really even told anybody. I told some people I told my daughters in 2016, a therapist. I talked to some friends in early 2017, and again in mid 2017. I was supposed to do Trans Rockies that August, but between my back injury and dealing with my, I don't call it a crisis, but I was definitely dealing with some stuff about my gender identity, and and there was a lot going on. So I I really did put a pause on a lot of my endurance sport because of that. Um, I did try to keep running, but I had a lot going on. And so 2017, I tried to run the Chicago Marathon. I got like 14 miles in and called it a day, which was 13 miles further than I thought I was going to make it. I did raise money for a great cause, so that's why I wanted to at least run a mile. And I just, I started taking hormones in late 2017. Things were just kind of wild. And so, moving to Chicago, just a lot of upheaval. And I don't know if I was even really thinking straight. I get it. But yeah, there was a lot going on. But I did start to get through a lot of it, and start to run again and start finding community here in Chicago. After I did Chicago Marathon in 2018, I found a lot of people, but I had been transitioning for about a year. I saw Chris Mosier was one of the coaches at this gym. Actually, I'm wearing their hoodie today. It's Edge Athlete Lounge. I don't know if you can see it, but Edge Athlete Lounge here in Chicago. They're awesome. Great place. I worked there this morning from 5 till 9 in the morning. And it's really helped me, because the nuts and bolts of transition are kind of, in a way boring. I mean, like I take hormones. I moved to Chicago and I had to work in the suburbs. Everybody in Chicago knows Patti. They don't know anything, but like your body changes in hormones. But I've been me the whole time I've been here. And a lot of people don't have that, quote unquote luxury to be able to just up and move. I'm really pretty lucky because it just eliminates a lot of the drama that we go through when we transition. So, but having that anchor of endurance sport, having a community of endurance athletes has helped me in that, because I have a place. I have a place I belong. And so I get that ability to just be myself in places that I was worried about being myself in.
Yeah, I mean, it really speaks to like how special our community is, just like trail running, just endurance sports. I mean, it's just like one big, like amazing family.
Yeah.
And, just the way we all just like take care of each other, even though it's like we know each other by degrees of separation.
Yeah.
Just the classic story of like, like when somebody falls on a trail, everybody's helping them out. Like
Yeah.
you need electrolytes. Like, I've put aside entire races myself to help someone out, and like I've seen people put aside entire races to help people out, and it's just an amazing community.
Yeah.
And it's really awesome to hear that you had that during your transition period, which must have been like a really, as you described it, a really tumultuous time, because not only is that going on, but you're also moved from SoCal to Chicago, and just that's a lot. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I'm originally from Chicago. I didn't have to switch jobs, so I was able to keep for almost a year my job that I had. I mean, it did require me to go to work wearing what I call the uniform, my boy costume. I had a 2-bedroom apartment. I actually kept all those clothes in the other bedroom in that closet. And like I made that part of my life so easy. Like everything was like mix and match clothes that I didn't have to worry about what I was wearing. And so it was hard, but there were things that made it easier here.
oh, oh no. All right, it looks like we've lost Patti here for a minute. I am going to go live. Let's see if this works. It's just, there you are. Yeah.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, just Instagram stuff, fun.
This is the first time I've ever done an Instagram live with another person. So, I appreciate. I don't know if that was me or the internet or whatever, but so anyway, my first winter here was rough. Actually, my first winter here was fine because I went back to California quite a bit, and every time I left, I missed the snowstorm. But my second winter was really rough, and I really suffered mentally, depression, and it was just rough. And by that time had I was working, but I had quit my job. That was a very comfy job, and I was making near the money that I needed to afford the apartment I was in, but I didn't want to break my lease. In hindsight, I really should have, because I lost my deposit anyways. Um, and so once I started to edge, actually one of the through the winter, and that's where I met some of my good friends. And I love winter. I love winter running now. Very strange, but I love to go out and run.
Oh, it looks like we lost Patty there again for a minute. But yeah, I'd have to agree about winter running there. Um, Something that sort of grew on me as well. Here, we'll get her back in a minute. We'll get her back in a minute. Oh, she's here. She's still sort of here. Um, hmm. And one. Here, let's do this again. Third time's a charm.
This
There we
may be my internet here. You get what you pay for. My internet is free with my apartment, and sometimes it's free. So it may just be cutting out. I don't know. It doesn't matter when you're doom scrolling as much as when you're on Instagram Live. So yeah, I really enjoy winter running, and that, like, it changed my perspective. And granted, the thing that stunk is that was 2019 going into 2020. We all know what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
yeah, so that kind of pushed off my going to Trans Rockies, which is why I just volunteered in 2021, and I went last year. That's how we know each other. Although we didn't get to spend any time together, it happens. I know there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people there, and I was there with 4 other friends, and from Chicago, that I dragged to, and they cursed me on the hills. Oh, let me tell you, I got an earful a couple of those days, but in the end, they all thanked me, because it's a pretty amazing experience.
Yeah. Even with those single track climbs, I mean, there were like a couple of those. There were like no switchbacks at all. Hope Pass had them, but I think like stage 4, that climb we started with, had like no switchbacks.
Yeah, I need to make a shirt that says "I hate Jeep roads." Because those are the ones that go straight up the hill.
If you make one of those, I'll have to buy one of those.
It's funny. One of the people that was with us, my best friend Erica, she designed shirts that says "I love," and the heart's got a little mountain in it, Hillary Pete. So being in Chicago, we don't have
Is
a
this
big.
Erica Williams?
No.
Erica Moore?
Erica Snell. She
Another
was,
Erica. Okay.
yeah. She was she was there this year with my friend who's actually Michelle, who's on this as well, and Tanya, and was another friend, and Jamie was my teammate. But she made so Hillary Pete was the name we gave to Hillary Pete's, because we would curse Hillary Pete, but we had to love Hillary Pete, because that's the only reason. Hi, Michelle. The only reason we were going to get up any of the hills was to try and do as many Hillary Pete's as we could. So, people looked at us because we didn't get them until the day after, and we were sitting in Avon having breakfast at a place. All 5 of us are wearing our little crop top I love Hillary Pete shirts. People probably thought we were there for a bachelorette party or something, because all wearing these dumb shirts, having a boozy brunch. Um,
That's amazing.
yeah, so it was pretty funny, but yeah, I just I can't say enough good things about that event and what they've, they, at some level, it's helped launch me into a career that I have now. When Huda, the race director, was talking to me about writing an inclusion policy, I keep saying this, that I need to talk to him about the non-binary portion of it, because they need to do a little work on that. But I did talk to him for a couple hours, after as he drove me to Laramie, Wyoming, after this last year's event.
So I definitely want to get into that since you brought it up. That was actually the next thing I wanted to get into. What you're talking about is Equality Institute. Is that correct?
Sort of, yeah, yeah.
So how did your, so you mentioned that writing is kind of the way you express. How did, and then, Trans Rocky sort of helped you get into that career. So go into a little bit about how that happened.
Well, so some of the writing I'm doing right now is real, quote unquote technical writing, but it's about,
Yeah.
I I express myself through writing policy, um, and inclusion guides. Um, but it happened during the pandemic. Both things happened. But I had been doing, I talked about who I am, on one of the virtual chill bills. I ended up meeting with my friend who, she basically is Equality Institute here in Chicago, and I knew her from doing, just a ton of networking in the city. And between that and between, the policy work with Trans Rockies, between my friend Denise, really kind of starting me out in, finding my voice, and telling my story, to people who need to hear it. Um, and just all those things kind of culminated in me ending up at Equality Institute, because I needed a job. And I found out I was actually pretty good at working with corporations and organizations on writing policy, facilitating workshops, for inclusion, and for understanding, um, and just to, like Bernadette, who is Equality Institute, and I have worked for the past year on writing, a tool to help, organizations, and now we're really trying to help other DEI consultants, with assessing, their clients, where they're at, because most assessments, and this is something I really like doing. I like what are you doing now? Like, let's dig into where you're at so we can figure out how to make improvements, because you can't make a you can't do a map to go somewhere until you figure out where you're starting from. You can state a goal, like, I want to get over here, but you gotta
Mhm.
figure out where you're starting from. And so, we built this whole assessment tool, and are trying to help with other, clients, because it's important that, organizations not only understand where they're at now, but, the directions to get to that goal that they want, which is to have a more inclusive workspace. And we give them, when we go through all the things that they're doing now, or that they could be doing now, and we tell them how to fix it. So we give them the rights and the lefts and the on ramps, and all the tools that they need to get to that inclusive space. But some of that work has been, writing policy. I wrote policy, for Trans Rockies. I wrote policy for model policy for Running USA, which is a organization of running events so that all their members and actually anybody, any running event can pull my inclusivity guide and my model policies off their website and use them for their events. Thanks to a grant from Brooks. So, it's really cool that I get to do a couple things that I think I'm good at, and that naturally just kind of join together the endurance sport, and just working with people to improve their organizations, to make people feel comfortable to be there and to do the best that they can.
Yeah, that's amazing that all those things sort of just like came together, and now you just have like, you have like this town for like what started as just like, I like writing policy as just something, to like de-stress, which, is funny because I like to make lists to de-stress. And it just sort of turned into it just sort of turned into something where like you have this passion for endurance sports as well, and they just became things that just like came together like that, and that's really awesome. As an organization that wants to make everybody feel comfortable at the start line as well, you've been in endurance sports now for a decade. How has that inclusivity changed in the decade since you started, and what still needs to be done, and what can we do as a brand to support that?
So one of the things that I see right now especially is that the future of endurance sport are kids who are Gen Z, and younger athletes. I'm not the future. I'm gonna stick around as long as I can keep running. And I'm a cyclist too. Shout out to my Half Acre Cycling teammates. And I am going to keep doing that. But the folks who are younger are the ones that are the future, and they're the ones who are demanding inclusivity across all things. So I think that listening to people who are in these communities that are just trying to be included, and trying to understand, like the people aren't, I don't know how many times I have to say that. I have to say this until I'm hoarse. I'm hoarse already. But people don't transition. People don't claim non-binary status, which is the latest thing that I've seen now, in order to win a prize, in order to win a podium. It just doesn't happen. Are there talented athletes who also happen to be trans or non-binary? Absolutely. Just like there are talented cisgender athletes. And sometimes they're going to pop up in your regional races, and they may capture a podium. But it's not because of some advantage. There is no magical advantage. I participated in the Illinois State Championships in cyclocross this weekend. Actually, I didn't because I was in the Cat 4-5 race, but it was going on this weekend. I finished 15th in my race out of 17 racers. So there's my trans advantage. I'm slow. It's we're all different people. Trans people are just like every other athlete. We're all across the spectrum, and there are people who are out there to participate. There are people out there who are out there to enjoy themselves. There are people out there competing. We're all doing this to be a little bit better, to enjoy ourselves. Those are the reasons. We get all this other stuff, the accolades, the podiums, that's icing. Really, our takeaway from all of this as athletes really needs to focus on, like, how do we get to that point? Like, what have we done? Like, when I look back at my accomplishments in training to Boston qualify. Sure, I look at the race that I did to qualify, but my training leading up to that was really the story. And so I think, and like my evolution as an athlete, as I've done these things, that's the story. And so, like, I don't know. I think there's a lot made out of something that's really infinitesimally small. So a trans person's going to find their way on a podium here and there. It's going to happen. But, that seemingly cisgender woman also on the podium may also have XY chromosomes and not know it. And is she not supposed to be racing in that category? I don't think so. And besides, like I don't want to belabor the point and go down in that rabbit hole too much, but like there's a Venn diagram of all athletes, cis and trans and all that, and the overlap is humongous, right? And there are plenty of cisgender women that are faster than most all of but the fastest of men.
Wow.
And so there's it's not I don't know. I've been watching a lot of cyclocross. I know there's some trans racers in cyclocross. And I've seen a trans racer I know get on the podium. Everybody's cheering for her. She's getting she's getting the champagne sprayed on her from other people on the podiums. As far as I know, and I don't know her that well, but I know her, like, she's feeling included. But I also know that she's getting beat. And the women that are beating her are fast racers, but when I watch them race in Europe, they're not, like, so my friend is great. She kills local races. She's great in these national races. I don't know where she would fare in these European races, but like there are all these different levels of people competing, right? And she's one person that's doing well. How many other top, there's 400 or 500 ranked UCI cyclocross riders. I don't know where she is on that, but like she may be the only trans woman on that list. Like, is she allowed to step on a podium? I mean, yes.
Yeah, I think so.
And so, right now, what we see is a lot of scaring of people because they're taking these. I mean, when you think about it, people who end up on a podium are outliers. People at the pointy end are outliers. And a trans person ending up in there is an outlier. I'm an outlier because we're such a small group of people. And then you have to okay, we're a small group of people. Then you have to say, okay, well, if we're this much, then only maybe a quarter of us are even inclined
A smaller percentage. Yeah.
to do any athletics. And then a little even small. I mean, it's infinitesimally small, the number of people that are really, really good at doing this stuff, right? But they get all the press. Leah Thomas got way more press mentions than NCAA women's swimming has gotten in 5 years.
My gosh.
And so it's this huge thing, but how many other national champions were crowned on that national championship weekend in different events? People think that she just won swimming. It doesn't work like that. She won a single event.
Yeah, I mean, man, my mind is blown. I mean, it's one thing to do the work and do the research. Oh, it's well, Molly's making a point there too. It's a lot of fear rhetoric fed by people who aren't. That's pretty true because I've not seen anybody in ultra running or trail running that ever had a complaint about this. And I've been in the sport and done a lot of racing in a couple of years, and if anytime I've seen a podium one like that, it's just complete like inclusion and just like complete,
Yeah,
just like total sportsmanship. So absolutely agree with that, Molly.
I've
One thing
I felt welcomed on start lines. I mean, I'm also slow, so
I'm slow as a turtle too, so got you. Um, one thing that I did want to bring up before we go into the rapid fire is that next week, we did talk about this earlier in the green room, but next week is Trans Week of Visibility, going into Trans Week of Remembrance, and I just wanted to hear your 2 cents on that, and if you had anything you wanted to say regarding that.
so trans week of visibility is kind of important. It's like an awareness that we exist. It's Trans Day of Remembrance, which is on the 20th, and it's the week before the 20th. That is the week of visibility, and it's a time for I'm actually doing a workshop for a major international company to just give them like a 101. So like I have always said, hey, I am here. I have capacity to do this. Ask me questions, especially during these weeks where it's just I'm always visible, but I'll be even more visible, right? Trans Day of Remembrance is an important day. It's where we remember those of us who we've lost in the last year, whether to violence from someone or violence to themselves. There are a lot of trans people who take their life, take their own life, and because a lot of it has to do with like outside pressure. It's hard. A lot of folks don't have acceptance. I mean, I don't speak to my parents and my sister. I've chosen to not let that bother me, but it's taken me 4 years to get to that point. And this year, every year it's been sort of an abstract, like we say the names. I feel sad and I feel anguish for what turns out to mostly be Black trans women. And this year, I'm really sad because I'm going to speak the name of my friend Elise Mallory, who I lost in March. And she was a member of I'm a race director here in Chicago for a race called Proud to Run. She was a board member on that race, of that race. I saw her just a couple weeks before she went missing. And it is, I still can't quite believe it. It really hits close to home, and I just, she wasn't a runner. She wasn't in our community, but she had worked with Proud to Run before, and was kind of a mainstay with that organization for the past 3 years. And it's just really, it's a horrible thing to have to remember this every year and have to recount people lost to like just absolute bigotry of folks. So I just think it's important that folks know what that day is about. And keep an eye out for it. If you're cisgender, it doesn't mean that you can't also mourn with us.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to mourn with you as well. You know, thank you for telling me about this this week that's upcoming. I mean, we'll do our part and Run Try Bike to make sure that everyone is aware of it.
If you want
And
any help, I can help you out. I
oh,
am
absolutely. Yeah,
happy
hey,
to.
teamwork makes the dream.
Yeah, I
Teamwork
like
makes the Team Turtle, right? Team Turtle.
I have some privilege, and I use it to help others be visible and be seen. So, because not everybody is willing or able to, speak about this stuff. So, um, for whatever reason, I've decided that I'm okay with doing this. So,
Yeah, definitely understand. Given that, I speak for a lot of issues in my community, and um, being vulnerable is a tough thing, but I know that it's bringing that awareness is doing good in the world, and um, just being out there on the trails, just being there in person, and just doing these things, whether it be writing or sharing or just helping someone else out and lifting someone else up, it's bringing positive change to the world.
yeah,
Yeah, and
like
that's
like
yeah,
my
Danielle
my
made a
bottle
good point here.
my bottle says
That's amazing.
be kind, and I
Yeah,
think that
be
that's
kind to others, be kind to yourself, especially be kind to others because you never know what somebody's going through.
yep,
It just
yeah.
just don't be a dick. It,
Yeah, that's another way of saying be
um,
kind. Yeah, don't be a dick. So let's get into this
yeah,
rapid fire.
that's my way of saying it. But yeah, yeah, thank you for that. So just to end this on a lighter note, I wanted to go into the rapid fire.
Okay,
Um, are you ready for the rapid fire?
I think so.
I promise there's no gotcha journalism here.
Okay.
But some of the questions might have you going, wait a minute. Um, so question one, music, podcast, or nature?
Nature.
Any particular kind of nature? Do you have like a favorite biome or a favorite type
Um,
of trail or area?
no, not really. I really like them all. I mean, I ran in the desert. I ran in the mountains. I've run in, the forests in the Rockies. Like the Trans Rockies, you get to run in all those different biomes, right? I like them all. I think that
These Rockies made me cry, so you
I
know.
think I might not like jungle running, but I've never tried it, so I don't know. I like
Oh, I
running in the.
mean, I did a jungle race back in June, and I'll have to go back to finish that one. But that was something.
Yeah.
Um, so next question is pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Um, Yay.
Okay, awesome. Well, I love pineapple on pizza. Jason, the other co-owner, is from New York, so he befriends anybody who likes pineapple on pizza.
So
He's a total New Yorker when it comes to that. I'm
a,
a total SoCaler,
a bit of
so I'm all for Hawaiian pizza.
yeah, a bit of sacrilege there. I mean, I'm uh, pretty much primarily plant-based. I mean,
Me too.
and so like I haven't found a good ham to put on with the pineapple, so I won't make a pineapple pizza just with pineapple, but I'm still pro pineapple.
I do jalapeno pineapple for my plant-based pizzas. It's been like, oh, it was something that I used to do even when I used to have dairy before I became totally dairy intolerant. Um, question three, Peeps, yay or nay?
Uh, well, they're not vegan, but I have been known to crush a peep or two. Um, I have a really good friend. Peeps is a very divisive topic. I think we probably should just move on.
Yeah, we've had people on the show who actually not only prefer Peeps, but they prefer stale Peeps. And I thought to myself, like, man, do you just really like to eat doorstops?
I actually, I
Um,
actually had occasion, and this is a bizarre like story, but I before I began transition, before I quit my job, I worked for a family business. I dragged some of the family to a family business conference, and at I think one of the dinners, I sat down with the Peeps heir and the owner of the Peeps fortune. Um,
wow.
the heir of the Peeps fortune at that time worked at Apple. He didn't work. He didn't work. He didn't work for the company. So I don't know if that says a
This is
lot
not
about
a story I
Peeps.
expected when we started the chat. That's amazing.
I've lived a life.
Oh man, that's wow. Um, Question number 4. Red velvet. Is it a real flavor or is it just chocolate with red dye?
It's red chocolate.
Okay, we agree on that.
Yeah.
And pineapple on pizza, so we're
Yeah.
2 of 3 there. Um, Actually 3 of 4 because I do love nature. Um, and yeah, I the other, let's see. Oh yeah, this is the one that I just thought of. Oreos. The cookie or the stuffing inside. And Oreos are vegan, as I found out.
So I'm one of those. I'm one of those. No, Denise, it should not be illegal. Denise, Denise, the one who
No, come on, dude. Well,
she,
Cohen or Jason would agree with you because he's a New Yorker. I assume maybe
she's
you're from the East Coast as well.
she's the reason that she's probably part of the reason that I'm here. Hi, Lily. Um, so
Peanut butter
I
Oreos. Oh, peanut butter Oreos are superior. I had those
I
during
will
a 100
say
mile race.
I eat the Oreo just like bites, like it's a sandwich. I don't separate, and I like it together. But I will say what I do prefer is um, the Nutter Butters, but not the cookie one, like the sheet, where it's like that
Oh,
really super thin and just like a bunch of peanut butter. Those are
um, oh, we got
chef's.
Lulu in the chat there saying hi.
Yes,
She, oh man, like that just
very,
before we end this, I just have to say Lulu gives the best hugs. And I
very
don't know
much.
how she makes it out there like way before the rest of us do, but she's already out there and set up and saying, hello, have a hug. She is amazing.
That's true, Denise.
It's a little Trans
And
Rockies
it,
reunion right here.
yeah,
Thin lemon Oreos.
yeah,
The package lies. It's not 23 servings, it's one.
yeah. I joke that a bag of chips, and then I do this at I love when I'm racing, and doing those aid stations, um, hitting up the chips. I love a chip, and I always joke that chips, no matter what size the bag is, one serving, one bag equals one serving. It may say family size, but that's one bag. That means one serving. And the same goes for
I mean,
Oreos.
I've totally downed like a whole family size bag after like a long training run. So I'm with you there. um,
Funny story is at one of the aid stations at the 50K I ran, and running is a very, very loose um, word for what I did in that race. I I handed off some of my I think I handed off some of my chips to someone. They wanted something that wasn't at the aid station, and I'm like, I have an extra bag of chips. Here you go. It might have been pretzels, but yeah, I actually
oh,
for the 50K in my drop bags, I packed my own chips just in case.
I did too. I packed I always pack honey Dijon chips because those are like my absolute favorite flavor of like kettle chips.
Yeah,
But
those would be good.
yeah, but yeah, it's been like, but yeah, I don't want to take too much of your time up now. I mean, there are so many topics here where we could keep going for like 5 hours on this line. And I would definitely love to do this again. I mean, this is
Absolutely.
awesome. But yeah,
I could
thank you so
I
much
could rant.
for being on the.
I
I
could
could ramble on too. I
yeah, I
mean,
could ramble for hours.
yeah. I mean, thank you so much for being on the show, Patty. Like, really appreciate it, and thanks for giving your insight and just sharing all those funny stories. And Jason missed out on the story about the Peeps owner. That's great. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
I wish I still
but
had that
yeah,
guy's number.
we'll definitely have to do this again. But I'm gonna let you go for now. So I hope you. Oh yeah, hugs. Right, hugs
Hugs,
right back.
hugs, Lily.
I can't give hugs back that equal Lulu's hugs, but
Yeah.
definitely sending virtual hugs to both of you. So,
Thanks,
most
Mimi.
badass mom and amazing community.
Yeah, I'm a
All right,
grandma.
well,
Um,
oh, that's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on there, or having me on here, and giving me a chance to um, show that, as it turns out, trans people are actual human beings with feelings and um, emotions and humanity, which I think is really important, especially in these times where people are trying to say a lot of things about us that may not necessarily be true. So I
Yeah,
appreciate
before
appreciate
that's
that.
it's I'm glad that you bring that up because before I end this episode, there was a line in your I Run Far article where you mentioned that we will eventually we want to get to the point where trans women aren't trans women, they're women,
Yeah, yeah. I
um
mean that I'm a
they're
woman.
yeah,
I'm also
it's
trans.
just yeah, exactly. And we just got to keep doing our thing and just spreading positivity and just lifting others up, and we'll get there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much, and thanks to
Thank
everybody
you.
who.
Have a great rest of your evening.
Thanks.